I am an astrologer here to talk about Pluto in the 4th house. But before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody that's watching has already got their birth chart read, or they have gone and gotten their birth chart calculated and know the planetary placements and positions of their houses, their planets, where they sit and what houses they sit in. I can't stress enough how important it is to know the placements of your planets, because it gives you kind of like a blueprint of your life, where you're at, where you're going, and where you came from. And so that is why I think it's just so important that everybody gets it done, even if it's not by me. But if you want your birth chart read and you like what I'm talking about and my understanding of the planets and placements, please feel free to send me an email and I'll be more than happy to help you along the journey of self-discovery. So when we talk about Pluto in the 4th house, we first have to understand Pluto and what Pluto represents. I am going to make a video specifically talking about Pluto and the mythology of Pluto. But for the purpose of this video, I'll just tell you, the generic symbolism for Pluto, which is crisis, death, rebirth, transformation, life after marriage and other people's resources. It also represents power struggles, obsession, possession, sex, taboo subjects. And so when you bring Pluto into the 4th house, it can be really hard because Pluto also represents trauma, and I'm not sure if I mentioned that. But the 4th house is a very gentle house. I'm wearing my moon shirt in honor of this placement because I know that it can be hard. I have my Chiron in Cancer. I also have Saturn in the 4th house. So I understand, hard placements. But Pluto is especially hard because Pluto is a very intense, magnetic, transformative energy that, if left in the subconscious, can really cause a lot of problems. And the 4th house is ruled by the moon in the sign of Cancer. Do you want to get up, honey? What do you want to do? You just want to stretch? Okay. The 4th house is ruled by Cancer and the moon, which is very sensitive, intuitive energy. The moon, is a reflective planet. So anything that squares it, anything that aspects it, it reflects that same energy. It's a very vulnerable planet because it represents our emotions, our inner self. The moon is really important in your birth chart because people that know you very well know you by your moon. They know you by, your emotions and how you exhibit, those emotions. And so having a Pluto in the 4th house, which is, like I said before, traditionally ruled by Cancer, can cause a lot of problems. The 4th house is representative of home, of your comfort, what makes you comfortable and what you're used to as far as your your home life is concerned. And so Pluto in the 4th house can be significant. Whenever I see this in a chart, it reminds me, or it triggers within me, looking for other karmic placements, because Pluto itself is a karmic placement, and the 4th house is one of the most important houses of your birth chart. Between 1, 7, 4, and 10. These are the building blocks that your entire life and your entire house is built on. And the 4th house, having Pluto here, really represents a lot of trauma. And like, this person with Pluto in the 1st house could have had a lot of skeletons in the closet in regards of like family and like family secrets. And someone with Pluto in the 4th house could have been brought up in a in a family that either the mother might have died or the mother was emotionally distant, and this person could have not felt like nurtured or taken care of. Also, honey bunny, come here. This is Yoda. This is my daughter. I love her so much. So someone with Pluto in the fourth house could have felt like abandoned as a child, or like their mother just like didn't really, you know, offer much emotional support or emotional affection towards them, and this could have really affected them. This person could have also undergone like death of a parent, maybe even death of the mother, where the mother just like was not available, wasn't there. She could have died, and it could have given birth to, you know, a father reacting over controlling because the mother died, and the father, because Pluto is a masculine energy, the father could have become like just so intrusive onto the native, where they just like, you know, overran their boundaries and just tried to control every single aspect of like movement of the native, or what the native was doing, who the native was talking to, where the native was going. This could have became unbearable. You could have had a parent that was emotionally abusive, a parent that was physically abusive. People with Pluto in the fourth house have a lot of skeletons in the closet because Pluto represents what's underneath the ground. You know what I mean? And they could have came from a really traumatic family that was unorthodox, and didn't like, they had to keep what was going on in the family hush hush and behind closed doors, because other people wouldn't have really understood it, because the things that were going on in the home were just so dark, and it could be considered really disturbing if you were someone that, you know, was, you know, quote unquote normal, even though like once you get into astrology you realize no one's normal. Everybody has something. But you know, people that try to maintain that mainstream persona, you know, they could look at someone with Pluto in the fourth house and think that they were just dark and disturbing, and like they didn't want to go there, you know. And this gives, you know, really major traumatic issues when it comes to somebody that has Pluto in the fourth house, because Scorpio never lets go of things. I know firsthand because I'm a Scorpio ascendant. I can hold grudges until the day that I die. Straight up. Like if you do me wrong, you lie to me, you cheat on me, you betray me in any way, I'll never forget it. I'll never forgive you, and I'll hold that shit till the day that I die. And people are like, "Oh, you need to give up on that." And I'm like, you know what? I'll save that for the Christians, you know, because I'm not a Christian. Christians can have that forgiveness shit. Like, I'm gonna hold that shit on, and no one is ever gonna do me wrong. You can say what you want, whether you agree with it or not. But the reason why I'm saying that is because people with Pluto in the fourth house will never forget what they went through in early childhood, and that will stick with them for the rest of their life, because Pluto rules Scorpio, and that's the energies that they bring. And because the fourth house is ruled by the moon and intuition and emotions, and the sign of Scorpio is a water sign, so even though it's fixed water, it's like these people become ice cold when it comes to their emotions, or so it seems to the outside world, that these people are like rock solid, and they have just like ice wall after ice wall after ice wall, and it's like impossible to get to know them. And like, you really have to earn your trust with these people. These people do not trust easily at all. And the reason why is because they've been through like such excruciating trauma, things that will just blow the minds of regular people, that they know that they can't just come out and say like what their story is, because people won't know how to handle like that immense amount of truth. They really won't. My grandmother has Pluto in Cancer in the first house. And she was kidnapped as a child, like a 3-year-old child. She was kidnapped from Cuba and she was sold into indentured servitude, and she was raised as a slave on a sugarcane plantation until she was 10 years old. She finally ran away, and her mother had her when she was 14 years old and abandoned her. And so, my grandmother had Pluto in Cancer, which is Pluto in the 4th house. It's just, the house is like where in your life, but the sign is like the energy, but it's the same energy, and that was like in her first house. So that is like, the legacy I come from. That is my grandmother, and it's similar to Pluto in the 4th house, so I really understand this. My grandmother also had Mars in the 4th house, which Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. And so, people with Pluto in the 4th house can never really feel like they have a stable home. They could feel like, their home is always changing. They have multiple homes in every single situation. Like, this is a placement you would see in people that grew up in foster care, or people that grew up like in a, shelter, or with like a mother that was just like emotionally distant, and just if your mother didn't die, your mother could have been a drug addict, or your mother could have been just like a crazy controlling, like dominating person that like never showed you love, but always showed you like strict, like overwhelming, it tried to exude overwhelming power over you and just like reduce you to nothing. And when these people get older, like, and they grow, they can have like such strong emotional thresholds that would like blow the mind of normal people. And they do not trust easily, and it takes a lot to earn their trust. But they will be the type of people that like try to like find out like the deeper aspects of the people that they date. You know what I mean? Like, these people are icebergs. Like, you see a little bit up front and they can seem really cheery, but underneath the surface it's just like a volcano ready to erupt. These people are ticking time bombs. And my heart goes out to people with Pluto in the 4th house, because all they have ever wanted was a home, and someone to acknowledge that they're human and that they're going through something like intense. But instead, karma has given them the life of someone that must suffer emotionally. And because it's Pluto, it's like immense amount of emotion, enough to like bottom someone out if there's not other placements in their chart to support this, to make them strong, but like Pluto in the 4th house, it has no other choice but to be strong. When it comes to marriage, these people sometimes feel inadequate because they might, attract someone that like comes from a good family, comes from wealth, has a great job, went to college, like all the boxes are checked. But they themselves are hiding this huge secret that they feel like they're not worthy, and it gives them like immense amount of anxiety that they're not worthy of love, because they have this like repressed trauma about family, and like they came from a family of maybe like drug addicts, or like shadow side. I don't want to use the word degenerate, but that's the word that's coming out of my mind, and that word is derogatory, so I'm sorry if I offend anyone. But they might come from like a family of like lower class, and so when they meet someone that has all their boxes checked, they could very easily feel like unworthy of love. And it's just like breaks my heart, because my grandma's my best friend and I love her so much, and everything that she's went through, like, I would not be the person that I am if it wasn't for her. And she was born with Pluto and Cancer in the 1st house, and my grandma has been through the most like crazy life experience that I've ever heard in my entire life. And she lives alone in an apartment in Boston, and she reads her like scriptures every day. Like, she doesn't read it, she hears it through audio because education was taken from her when she was a child. In the situation that she was grown into, they denied her education. And so I remember being 12 years old and teaching her how to read. You know what I mean? Because she was like in her 60s at that point, and she like never lost the determination to, learn how to read and improve herself, because, that's Pluto in the first house. Like, he'll never stay stagnant. He'll always transform, and he'll become your superpower. And when you get older, if you, acknowledge and go through the learning transformative process, which is brutal. The transformative process of Pluto is absolutely the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. Most people don't do it, and that's why they stay the same. And when they die, they're reborn in like almost the same life and have to learn the same lesson. But if you in this life will take initiative and be like, you know what, Pluto, I know that I have a lot of work to do, and I am up for the task, and I will do that work. And maybe I need to understand more what it's like to have a family and appreciate the values of family more, and honor the family unit. Like, you can become one of the greatest mothers, greatest homemakers. You could have one of the most stable family units, out of anybody, because Pluto becomes obsessed with whatever placement that he's in. But you have to submit and acknowledge the fact that, yes, I need to learn, and I'm wrong here, and I need to learn, and transform and become the phoenix that rises from the ashes. And I do not blame my grandmother for anything that has to do with the way that my mother and her siblings were raised, because what the hell was she supposed to do with the life she was given? You know what I mean? She had no family, she had no mother, she had no father. You know what I mean? She had no home. She had to build the family that we had from the ground up. And I have a multitude of cousins. I have so much family. Like I love every single one of them, and they're all so cool and so accomplished and doing their own thing. But none of us would have been born if it wasn't for my grandmother that had Pluto and Cancer. And so do not get discouraged, Pluto and Cancer, when it comes to family, because I'm a product of Pluto and Cancer. Or I'm sorry, Pluto in the fourth house, but I'm a product of Pluto and Cancer. And Pluto and Cancer can become the matriarch. You know what I mean? Can become, can have so much family. My grandmother can't go anywhere now as an adult without being taken care of. Like this, I remember that she slipped and fell on ice a couple months ago, and 20 different people, cousins, aunts, siblings, everybody in our family calling her nonstop. Where are you? Are you okay? Are you okay? Me driving like 2 hours to go see her to make sure she was okay. You know what I mean? Like, we absolutely adore my grandmother, and nothing bad could ever happen to her, but it's because like she went through the process of transformation, and she, submitted and tried to be better than where she came. And so Pluto in the fourth house, I know that, you might have came from humble beginnings, and it might have been really hard for you to, feel like you had a place in this life, because you might have had a family unit that denied you of that, camaraderie. But you have the potential to become much more. than what your childhood was, and know that you experience those things so you can understand the value of family, and so that when you get older and you mature, that you do not repeat the same pattern as those that came before you. And you're here to break the pattern, and you're here to break the family karma. So I love you guys so much, and I have so much empathy for you guys, and I would love to talk more. You know, anybody that has Pluto in the 4th house, please, you know, leave comments about your life experiences, and you know, what you thought about this video. And I hope to see you again soon. Blessed be.